Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Second Chance Live show. I'm your host, Daryl Stinson. I'm a two-time TEDx speaker, and I am a suicide survivor. In 2012, wow, I feel like I'm getting older now. It felt like it was just yesterday that I was sitting in my blue Dodge Stratus, and I was contemplating suicide, and I wrote my suicide letter saying goodbye to everyone I love. I was agnostic. I was hurt. I was frustrated because I felt like my alma mater quit on me and did not allow me to play in the NFL like I knew that I could. Thankfully, I ended up in a psychiatric care facility in Detroit, Michigan, where two different people came and witnessed to me about this guy named Jesus. And I put my faith in Christ, and my life was radically transformed. And I started to pursue my purpose. Had a lot of help on the way from counselors, from mentors, from pastors, from some of the people you've already seen on the show. And today, another person on this journey with us to live out powerfully our second chances is Tim Storey. How you doing, my friend?
Good. And Daryl, what an amazing story of letting God unfold your life, right? Mm-hmm. And so proud of you. And you shine bright, man. People love you. I haven't even found one of your enemies.
They're probably out there, man. They're lurking in the shadows.
I'm proud of you, man, for real.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Man, Tim has a new book out, guys, and I'm going to read his official bio. And after I read his official bio, as I read his official bio, I want you guys to think about your friends, the people you care about, the people who stalk you on social media, and I want you to invite them. Imagine this. Imagine them getting to tune in to 10 minutes of this discussion, 15 minutes of this discussion, and picking up some life principles that can alter their future, that can help them see opportunities that are right in front of them that maybe because of stress, overwhelm, negative voices, they just weren't able to see. So I want you to hit that share button and invite more people into this discussion because it's going to be amazing. Tim Storey is an acclaimed author, speaker, and life coach, well known for inspiring and motivate people from all walks of life, from entertainment executives, celebrities, athletes, Daryl, my name's in there, to adults and children in the most deprived neighborhoods in the country. Tim has traveled to 75 countries and spoken to millions of people. He often meets privately to counsel high-profile leaders in various industries. Along with his rigorous speaking calendar and private life coaching sessions, he also holds regular, spiritually motivating, intimate sessions across the world called The Study. He hosted an exclusive Saturday morning series on SiriusXM Radio. In April of 2015, he was interviewed for a full hour segment on Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul Sunday. I love that. Since then, he has appeared as a speaker on the Super Soul sessions live from UCLA and was a guest speaker at the ultra-exclusive PTTOW. Didn't even know what that was. I had to look that up. 2015 conference. He's has a church, a thriving church called The Congregation, which is out in California. And their church is dynamic, much like our church here in Metro Atlanta, very diverse in terms of socioeconomic status, ethnicity. It is a vibrant church. Haven't been there, but I have heard amazing things and tuned into a couple of sermons. And he preaches the fire, man. He's got the word. So that's the official bio. But let me tell you why I invited him. I invited him because I recently heard of him. Probably less than 3 months new to the Tim Storey journey. And I heard him speaking on Clubhouse with some friends and mentors of mine, Chris and Jen Winfield, who some of you know. And I was like, man, this guy is speaking my language. I connect with a lot of people and I can read people very quickly, not from a judgmental standpoint, but you can tell when people are faking it and when they're the real deal. And just by hearing his voice, seeing his poise, hearing the way that he treated people who came up and asked questions, I noticed that this is who this guy is. This is not a front he puts up. And that attracted me. And so I reached out, his team graciously responded, and here we are today. So, Tim, I just want to tell you that I appreciate your life's work. I appreciate your character and your integrity. And you are now one of my huge persons to follow. So I'm excited for this interview and to talk about your new book, The Miracle Mentality. Let's start from the overview. Can you give us maybe the 5-minute version of your story from where you grew up to how you got to where you are today?
Number one, thanks for that introduction. That was very nice of you.
Thank you.
So the whole thing, Daryl, as you know, some things in life we decide, some things we discover.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a junior in high school, my goal was to go to USC. And I had the grades to go to USC. I've always liked education. And I actually had the connections to go to USC. So that's where I was headed. But a friend of mine was reading this book about the life of Mother Teresa. And she asked me if I wanted to read it after. So I said yes. And that book really challenged me. And here was a lady who was a teacher, a nun, but a teacher. And she saw like hurting orphans. And she decided to like halt being a teacher and shift and help orphans. And from that book, I went and talked to my guidance counselor who liked me. And he said, Tim, I really think you're called. I never had heard what he meant by that before. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, you got a spiritual way about you. I know you're into the things of God. Later, I found out he was a strong Christian. And he said, have you ever considered seminary? I said, no. So that's where I ended up going. I went to seminary, went on to get a doctorate in world religion. So what I am is a humanitarian first. I get to do other projects, but I'm a humanitarian first. I'm like probably more swaggy Mother Teresa.
That's got to be on your bio. A more swaggy Mother Teresa. I love that. I love that. And you are. And it's funny. My friend David Meltzer called me that one time, and I kind of took it the wrong way because I felt like he was trying to crucify my spirituality. But in reality, he was just telling me how he perceived me and how the world perceives me. And so now I do call myself a humanitarian as well. One of the things that I am very curious to ask you about is this section of, and I hate to use these terms, but I know people are familiar with it, is the secular and the sacred, or the workplace and the ministry realm. And you cross over and mingle. I don't think there is a separation, but some people see it that way. Wondering what your philosophy is on it and how are you able to live and have influence in both realms?
Great question. I think number one is that all of us are made in the image of God. So whatever faith somebody comes from, in my belief, they're made in the image of God. And then we have choices if we're going to follow, Christ or not. But we're made in the image of God. So I treat everybody like they're made in the image of God. So whether they're an atheist or agnostic or come from any walk of life, that's God's son, God's daughter. So that's how I treat people. And that's probably why that I've been one of the few that can cross over from the faith side to what we call the secular side. Mm-hmm. But I will say that long before Tim Storey, T.D. Jakes, and other people have crossed, you got to go way back to Norman Vincent Peale. You got to go back to the Mac Daddy, Robert Schuller. Mm-hmm. Robert Schuller, back in the 70s and 80s with the Crystal Cathedral, that was a strong Christian man that had really crossed over. And then you get into people like the Zig Ziglars and that. But I think that myself and Jakes, Devon Franklin, we just do it in a smoother way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny. I heard it. It was subtle. And I think if you don't have the awareness of it, you kind of just breeze by it. But I think it was an interview with a guy named Tim, who I didn't know him. And or maybe his name is Chris, but he was talking about the concept of sowing and reaping, but he was using the phrase karma. And you were like, whether you call it karma or sowing and reaping, the principle's still the same. And to me, that was like, man, I do that too. That is what it takes to live in both realms, is to be able to take language that other people speak that might not be of your faith, but they can understand it. And I believe it is a bridge to our faith. But other people see it as compromise. how do you handle, have you ever, let me not assume, have you ever gotten feedback that maybe you are becoming too worldly? I'm using air quotes right now.
Yeah, because I will be honest and say that I've been one of the catalysts in the entertainment business to help hundreds and now thousands of entertainers. And in all honesty, no one's done it like we've done it. So when they're finding out that I'm helping this certain entertainer and they're saying, oh, but he still does those movies. Oh, but that person's still doing that music. Oh, Tim Storey is now compromised. I did hear that a lot in the 90s when I really got big into what we call the Hollywood Bible Study in 1992. But I was cool with all that because I think that unless somebody has that calling and somebody has that kind of compassion, then they're going to go more into judgment. But I was still cool with them. So I don't let the offense put me on the defense. But what I also did is I had a multitude of counselors that were very smart, and I would take conservative ministers and also not so conservative ministers, and I had a great board around me that would really like give me some good advice of if they thought I was going too far or not. But obviously what we've done is working because we took it worldwide now. You know, we're in 75 countries of the world helping people.
Yeah. What's something that, you know, you really want to accomplish with this later season in your life?
Why do you call it a later season, Daryl? What do you call it?
I call it a later season because you got more gray hair than me. That's why.
That was funny. So I think that I feel that, you know, at this point in my life, I have more wisdom. And so I choose my battles more wisely. And I have more revelation of what God can do and more revelation of what I cannot do as well. So I feel that what I'm open to is God assignments. So I wrote a book back in the 80s that was a bestseller called Good Idea or God Idea. And I teach this, Daryl, that good ideas may come to pass, but God ideas, they will come to pass. And you have a God idea, like Daryl has a God idea. You need to be obedient to that God idea because watch this. Somebody's waiting for you on the other side of your obedience. So I'm glad that you made it through your football trauma and drama and also some of the things that were tripping you up in life, because look at what Daryl Stinson's up to now. You're like helping, you know, thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. Love it. You know, I'm a huge believer that people can relate to our failures more than our successes. And when we read your bio, a lot of people can go, well, okay, yeah, maybe one day. But failure is something we're all familiar with.
Yeah.
Can you share a time where, man, you were going through it and you felt like quitting? And what did you walk us through your process of how you overcame that moment?
Yeah, I think that, you know, for me, one of the biggest points of failure was to have such public success early in my 20s, like early 20s. And then to have a marriage that was struggling because you had amazing woman, graduated USC, then she goes on and gets her master's, then she becomes a college professor, brilliant lady from a very respectable family that does well. And my father-in-law was just brilliant. So to go to that man, this brilliant man, and say, you know, I'd like to marry your daughter, and then for it not to work. And then we ended up getting divorced. And I was a very well-known minister. So that was a difficult thing. So that took me into a place of shame that I never had ever felt, guilt that I never felt, and a secret depression that I never felt. And I would say that took me about 10 years to get over. So I was still Tim Storey and speaking, 3,000 people here, 7,000 people here. I've spoken up to 85,000 at a time. So I was still that guy, but I was like limping. I was limping because I felt like I had let my kids down, my ex-wife down, my father-in-law down. So those were the things that were in my mind. But thank God for an amazing Christian psychologist who was a professor at USC. She literally helped change my life and helped me see things more from a God's perspective.
What's one perspective shift she helped you have?
The idea of what we call failure, and she did not see that as a failed marriage. She saw that as, choices that my ex-wife made and choices I made, and that we had two amazing kids, and that we will always be close. So she made it more like the arrangement is changed, but you're getting caught up in this cultural thing of you are a failure. And sometimes it's a little bit even religion. But she really helped set me free from the way I thought and the way I think today. And I've walked a lot of great people through divorce and through other setbacks in their life. And, sometimes you got to take your test and make it a testimony, right?
Yeah. I remember when I still see a counselor, but one of the perspective shifts that I had that my counselor shared with me, and I share this often because I think it's helpful for people who are new to rewiring their brain, shedding limiting beliefs. And I know the miracle mentality is a lot about that. But one of the things she said to me was she wanted me to start declaring all these positive things about my life and my future. And I'm like, I'm not about to brainwash myself with negativity.
Yeah.
And she was like, Daryl, we are 45 minutes into our session. You've been talking about negative things all 45 minutes. And you've been playing this tape of negativity this entire time. I'm just trying to tell you she said, you're already brainwashing yourself with negativity. I'm just trying to help you switch the tape. And I was like, oh, I never saw it that way. And it was kind of like a huge pivot point for me. And so I love that you're a huge advocate for that. And I love to use that moment as a pivot to the miracle mentality, because there's two ways I see it. And I don't know if this was your intent, but it's like there's the God miracle, right? The thing that only God can do. Yeah. But then there's also a mentality that almost opens up the gateway for those miraculous things to happen. And the book is about mindset, but there's practical steps you can take to win in all areas of life. So I'd love for you to describe the miracle mentality to us, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think the reason, Daryl, the book is doing so well, it's literally become a movement, and people are buying 100 books at a time for their staff, 250, and the highest we've gone is someone bought 2,500 books at one time. And anybody that sells books knows that's unheard of. And we're on our way. We'll be a New York Times bestseller. And the reason is it's essential. The miracle mentality is about mindset. And mindset, as everybody knows, is where you set your mind. And you got to be careful with your mindset, because your mindset will create your mood set. So you can renew your mind. And when you get your mind set right, it'll change your mood. It'll change two things: your temperature and your tempo. This is brilliant stuff. All in the book.
This is good. Come on.
Now watch how cool this is. Is that I don't get dictated by if the waiter or waitress is grouchy if I go to breakfast at a diner. I'm not thrown off by that. Because my miracle mentality is my reality. So I already have a temperature and a tempo at all times. Catch me 12 midnight. I got a temperature and a tempo at all times, because I have saturated my mind with what God thinks about me. Not just positivity, not just beautiful thoughts, not the moon as aligned with the sun. No, I'm so saturated on what God thinks about me that I'm just in that space.
Talk about that. When you say saturated, what are you feeding your mind to saturate yourself and what God thinks about you?
Okay, so here's what I say, and I actually have it written down, is number one, in life, we have to become awake. And I think what happens is that a lot of us, we sleepwalk. And we're like, like I like rap. So, but if I'm listening to a certain song and the lyrics are not jiving with me, I'll turn it off. Where before I'd listen too long. So you have to become awake. Like what am I putting in? It's two things. It's your ear gate, what you listen to, and your eye gate, what you see. To become awake. Number two, take inventory. Like, how's this working for me? Number three, you then got to partner with the right people. So you need other people that have a certain mindset. You need people with a miracle mentality, as you have done. You like put a dream team around yourself. And then you have to get the right principles in you. So the principles to me is the word of God. Like I got some friends that say, oh, I read a book a week. Okay, congratulations. You're hardly remembering anything. What is this? Is this a doggone race? No, man. Read a book if it's, you love to read that much. Read like 2 books a month, but meditate on what you learned. Don't just move through. So the principles, okay, are what me and you thrive on. Watch, let me drop something.
Come on.
Blessed is a man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, okay, or stand in the path of sinners. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And he shall be, not he might be.
Come on.
He shall be planted by the rivers of water, which means prosperity. And everything he does, not some things, everything Daryl Stinson does shall prosper. The word prosper there means flourish or bounce real high. So don't blame us for bouncing.
Oh, I love it. Flourish. I love that word. And what I love about the book, especially the exercises in the back, is that you're not just focusing on one area of life.
No.
And I've heard Bishop Jakes address this, and it meant something to me when he said it. This was several years ago. He said, hey, man, when you're trying to flourish in all these areas of life, just don't lose. He said, you're going to lose at something every day. Yeah. Just don't lose at the same thing every day. Yeah. And that helped me to not feel like I had to win every day at all areas. What's your philosophy on flourishing in all areas of life? And how are you able to kind of keep this plate spinning?
I can't beat what Bishop Jakes just said. that's like Pharrell just came with a beat. Timberland beat that beat. Go ahead, Timberland, beat that. No. Jakes is a great wordsmith, a great friend of mine since 1992. Can't beat that. But I will say this, in this book here, Miracle Mentality.
Boom, get your copy.
I knew you had it. It's not even about sales. It's not like a sales meeting here. I talk about discovering the miracle mentality. I talk about activating the miracle mentality. And as you say, I talk about how to have a miracle mentality in parenting, love relationships, friendships, work, career, money, health, bam. And as you know, I walk you through this thing. Come on, people. It's not just like, I was so inspired. No, you're going to get changed.
Yes.
We're into changing people.
Yes. What I love about taking inventory is that it's kind of like you can't get to where you're going until you know where you are. And that inventory piece that you have in here is like, okay, where am I currently at?
Yes.
And then what action steps do I need to take? And you use the language, how is this working for you? How is this working for me? And I've discovered in my own life, in the life of other people, that, okay, check. But when it comes to then changing the behavior or or doing the inner work. I mean, you mentioned 10 years was this season. And I'm sure there was some growth. It wasn't like stagnant. It might have been some ups and downs.
There was growth.
But consistency for 10 years? Can I tell you, when you said that, I was about to cry. This is a long time to wait.
That's how deep the failure was, because I waited till I was 25, and I was a 25-year-old virgin, good church kid. And so I felt like I'd done things right, courted her correctly, etc. And then you fail. But the thing is that at that point, I had probably spoken in 45 countries of the world. I was very well known. I was probably in the top 3 well-known ministers in the entire world. So then to know, whoa, Tim went through this, that moved through the universe. Okay. But can I tell you something? Those people were great to me. Like, I don't have too many stories of like, ooh, the haters came out. No, most people were great to me. And I think part of it is you reap what you sow. I've always been merciful to people if they had mishaps. I think you reap what you sow.
That's a good point. And a lot of people want to hold on to that because they feel like by them giving mercy to other people, somehow they're encouraging or supporting or advocating for their dysfunction or behavior. But that's not at all the case. What's your philosophy on extending mercy and why it's important?
Well, if you're greater than God, then do not extend mercy.
Oh, such a humble answer.
It's such a great answer.
It is.
I'm dropping 37 points without you even realizing. I'm pulling the James Harden. James Harden, he's moving so slow on that court. You look at the end of the game, he's got 37 points, and you went, James, how did you just do that? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm dropping 37 without people realizing it. But no, I mean, I'm about wisdom. I study a lot. I probably study 3 hours a day on various things. And I talk to some of the most brilliant minds in the world, not just in America. I'm not just a dude in one country. I got worldwide friends, and we're talking worldwide concepts. Come on, man. We're created to do amazing, miraculous things.
Absolutely. And I want to direct people to the book, and I know it's flashed across the screen a couple of times. Last question I sort of want to ask you is, on this assignment that you're on and this message you're spreading and the life you're living, opportunities I'm sure come across your plate every few minutes. How do you discern what you say yes to?
Different than I did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I enjoyed the ride, like the adrenaline. Man, there's Denzel Washington in my meeting watching me speak. It's crazy. Man, I'm at Stevie Wonder's house. It's crazy. So I was moved a lot more by adrenaline at that age, 20 years ago. 20 years forward, I'm moved more by assignment. Like, what is God's assignment for me? And Daryl, the way I see myself, I'm only a piece of the puzzle. To some people, I'm a small piece. To some people, I'm a big piece. But I'm only a piece of the puzzle. And so for me, my piece of the puzzle is to be a humanitarian, which I do a lot of nonprofit stuff, be a speaker, be a good father, be a good person, be a good pastor, and write good books. This is my piece of the puzzle right now. So to me, I'm enjoying the portion that God allows me to do.
Love it. Love it. Tim, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Guys, I want to encourage you to go get this book, The Miracle Mentality. I'm about 75, 80% through the material. And it is definitely one that I won't just read, I will reread. And it's also a book that you don't read, but you also do implement these strategies. So it's important to get the principles and information, but it's equally as important to make sure you apply it to your life. So go ahead and grab that. The information is there. The links is on this. This will live in our replay section and all that stuff. Tim, I just want to say thank you for your time today. Phenomenal, man. Les Brown always taught me that the best speakers make the fewest words go the furthest. And so you pulled the James Harden today, and I appreciate it. So much wisdom in what you shared. Appreciate you.
So proud of you, and you're just going higher and higher.
Thank you. All right, guys, take it easy.